Welcome to the
That's
show.
official.
This is Kenneth Muyingo, and with me I have a special guest that I'm going to be interviewing. First, I just want to mention, if you watch this interview and you would like to write a book yourself, to become an author and write your first book, join the community of like-minded people who are doing the same. And with that said, I would like to get into the interview by asking my guest to say hello to our viewers and listeners and to introduce himself.
Well, hello, Kenneth, and hello, everybody who's watching. My first communication with Kenneth was an interesting one because we have the same name, and I pointed out to him, as he very well knew, that the name Kenneth in Scottish actually means handsome leader. So that was a bond, I think, straight away, wasn't it, Kenneth?
Yes, it was, most definitely.
As to how we get along.
Yeah.
That's a great sounding name, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But to introduce myself, I'm a coach, but I haven't always been a coach. I spent about 25 years in the corporate world, working in communications and public relations.
Yeah.
Where I did a lot of writing, Kenneth, which I know is another aspect of your interest and your viewers' interest. But about 6 years ago, I started to kind of move away from that corporate life. Being in public relations was pretty full on. You know, you're kind of 24/7 available, having to answer phone calls from different parts of the world at all times of night. So, you know, there was a lot of pressure there.
Yeah.
What happened to me actually was the last full-time job that I worked on was on the Olympic Games in 2012, which were held in London, which was an amazing, fantastic experience. And I was the Olympic Day, where they carry the Olympic flame around the country, and that was just a fantastic experience. Really amazing, kind of a once in a lifetime job, you know. Yeah. But when it came to the end of that, it had been, you know, such a mad couple of years working on a big project and being the center of attention for a few months because everybody wanted to get involved in the Olympics, which was a lovely experience. But after it finished, I kind of thought, okay, you know, what do I do now? What happens now? And I didn't have, and I took some off, and I thought, okay, maybe this is a chance to do something different.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, you know, I'd sort of heard about coaching and thought, I'm going to have a look at that.
Yeah.
And I knew I was a good listener.
Yeah.
I knew I was a good listener. So I started to look in, and long story short, I trained as a coach, and that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years, being both a coach and someone trains other coaches as well. And that's where I am now, enjoying being a coach, having a flexible life, and working from home and loving life.
Amazing, Kenneth. Thank you so much, my namesake, for sharing this. It's very inspiring in it. So you worked in corporate for 25 years.
Yeah, it was and it was a job that I fell into, to be honest with you. And I know this sometimes happens to people, that they don't really know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I was actually a really quiet child. And the idea of me being in public relations, which is a full-on thing, and you're ringing up journalists all the time and selling stories and this kind of thing, in a sense fulfilled a sort of an extrovert part of me. but I think I was probably happiest when I was on my own, and just thinking and reflecting and being creative when I
Yeah.
could. So it was. Do you know what? My mother actually told me the other day, when I was a child, someone described me as an extrovert trapped in an introvert's body.
Wow.
I love that. I love that idea. I love that
Yeah.
idea of having these two sides. So
Yeah.
I think the extra me one like I wanted to be quoted in the papers, to be on TV, all that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
there was also another part of me that felt, actually, I just want to listen to other people talk. I don't want to do the talking. I want to hear
Yeah.
what other people have to say, and that's what the two parts of my career have been, really.
Yeah. I love that. And extrovert trapped in an introvert's body. That's
Exactly.
that's
Yeah,
profound.
I think maybe a lot of people can relate to that, because
Yeah.
it's I think there are always these two parts to us, and always these two pressures, because
Yeah.
we feel pressure to be on social media and out there and recording videos or
Yeah.
posting blogs and all this sort of stuff. But then sometimes you just want to be a little bit
Exactly.
quiet and thoughtful and
I
reflective.
can totally relate to
Um,
that.
uh, you know, there's a value to both of those things, I think.
And
Finding the right balance is probably key.
most definitely, it's and so you made the move after 25 years, and I'm thinking after 25 years, maybe somebody would be thinking, I'm just going to stick to this,
Yeah,
or just find another job, or just explore another avenue for employment. But then you made the move into coaching. What
yeah.
inspired you?
To be honest, there was no one kind of moment.
Yeah.
Um, but what I think we all have, Kenneth, I think we all have a little voice
Yeah.
somewhere, you know,
Yeah.
a little whispering voice
Yeah.
that's telling us something. And it's sometimes hard to hear that voice,
Yeah.
because the world is so loud.
Yeah.
Social media is very loud. Um, Reading about and thinking about other people is loud. Um, so you don't always get an opportunity to hear and listen to that quiet voice.
Yeah.
But when I had an opportunity to pause and to
Yeah.
stop, this little voice became loud. I could hear it better,
Yeah.
and I could hear what it was saying better.
Yeah.
And so I just started to allow it to speak.
Yeah.
And with coaching, as there's a lot of just listening to
Yeah.
people, and being in partnership
Yeah.
with people, and being empathetic, and being curious
Yeah.
about people. And the more I listened to that, the more that voice was saying, yeah, this is right. This
Yeah.
is right.
Yeah.
And the less of the noisy corporate
Yeah.
career, that noise got lower and lower.
Yeah.
So
I guess
not
you don't
not,
hear it
not
anymore now. It has died out.
yeah.
Wow. So you were saying something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that we don't always get that chance.
Yeah.
It's not always like one moment of inspiration.
Yeah.
It's sometimes just having time to reflect, having
Yeah.
time to just allow that quiet voice to hear what it's saying,
Yeah.
and to give it some space, because that comes from here, Kenneth, as you know.
Indeed.
It comes from here.
Indeed. Indeed.
Doesn't come from up here.
Yeah. Nice, nice, nice. Now, if somebody is watching us and they've had this voice, they know that they've heard it loud and clear what it's telling them, but they feel, I'm just too afraid to make the jump. What can you share with them knowing what you know?
You may need to say that again, Kenneth. I'm afraid the
Yeah,
connection was a bit
all right.
broken.
So if somebody's watching us and they've had this voice telling them about this thing that they feel strongly about in their heart, but they feel afraid to act on it. And knowing that you were in corporate for 25 years and then you made the move and just acted on the voice and the dream that was in your heart, what can you share with them knowing what you know?
Wow. Okay. Well, number one, listen to that voice and give it some space.
Yeah.
Give it some space to tell you what it wants to tell you. The second thing, and you'll know how this is about belief.
Yeah.
And how do you build your belief?
Yeah.
How do you build your belief in yourself? And how do you build your belief in what it is that you want to do?
Yeah.
And the third thing I think is give it time.
Yeah.
You know, give it time, because you know, as everybody will tell you, from Picasso to Bill Gates, you know, that none of them became overnight successes. You know,
Yeah.
they all spend a long time crafting their art, you know,
Yeah.
and crafting what they do. So if we can all keep in mind that, you know, the journey that we're on is building us and
Yeah.
moving us over time, slice by slice,
Yeah.
slice by slice. And, you know, at some point we'll kind of look back and go, oh my God,
Yeah.
look how much I've done.
Yeah.
And it's all going to come from work and persistence and belief.
Amazing. While you were sharing that, you reminded me of something. Somebody said, he said, I'm grateful of the idea that has used me. And sometimes we think about the dreams that we have or the things that we want to do as us doing them. But actually, I think there's more to what meets the eye, that the things that we do sometimes are bigger than us, in the sense that there's other people's destinies who are tied, which are tied in the work that we do. And looking at you, Johnny, as a coach and getting into coaching now 6 years, and looking at, tell us about your ideal client or the people that you serve. So you mentioned that you serve coaches, you train
Well,
coaches.
that's right. Yeah. So I've got kind of two halves really. I've got one half that is coaching individual clients,
Yeah.
and then I have another half that's helping to train coaches.
Yeah.
So I work for a coaching school. It's called the Animas Center for Coaching, and I help students on that coaching course to get their diploma in coaching, and also help them after they've qualified to find their feet as
Yeah.
coaches. Um, from the individual point of view, um, many of the people who I work with come from my own industry background, so from communications and events.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but I guess the people that I love working with is anyone who's stuck.
Yeah.
You know, anyone who's stuck on something. who isn't quite sure what they should be doing with their life,
Yeah.
or they're at a crossroads. They're kind of thinking, I don't know what route to take.
Yeah.
So, I love helping people to get unstuck, and
Yeah.
I love helping people to believe in themselves more,
Yeah.
because quite often building that confidence, building that belief is actually at the root of many things that hold us back and keep us stuck.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah. Self-belief, that's a sure one, because most people find themselves in places simply because they don't believe in themselves or the things that they can do. And so you mentioned about having this great passion to help people who are stuck. And looking at the past 1 year and a half, the world as we knew it was disrupted by something that affected everyone. Didn't matter where we are located geographically. And many people's lives, dreams, businesses, jobs were disrupted. And as a result, many people are stuck right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And knowing what you know, if somebody's watching us right now and they feel it's like I'm just making figure eights, just going around the same spot, how do I get out of this loop? What can you share with them?
Okay. Well, I recognize exactly what you're saying, because I know many people, for example, who work in the events and hospitality world, um, whose business and whose industry has basically just stopped overnight. So a lot of people who've had a very, very tough time, and even now, still waiting for that to come back.
Yeah.
But let me just give you an example. So many of the people who I've worked with in the last year or so have been people looking for a new job or looking for a job.
Yeah.
Now, I give them a job. It's not in my power to give
Yeah.
them a job. But what I have been helping people with is turning up to a job interview with confidence,
Yeah.
or turning up to a job interview with the right mindset.
Yeah.
Because those are things that are still in our control.
Yeah.
And I think the big issue with anything like this pandemic is feeling things are out of your control.
Yeah.
So the more that we can do to focus on actually, what is in my control, never mind anything else,
Yeah.
what's actually in my control.
Yeah.
What's in our control is nearly always our mindset and how we think, and the meaning that we give to things going on.
Yeah.
And we lose sight of that sometimes because everything feels out of our control.
Yeah.
There's a brilliant exercise. You might know this one, Kenneth. There's a brilliant exercise where you draw you draw a circle, and then you draw another circle around it. And in the big circle, you write down everything that's in your control.
Yeah.
In the small circle around it, you write down everything that's in your influence.
Yeah.
And then everything that's not in your control or not in your influence, you just write somewhere else and just
Yeah.
leave it out of the picture.
Yeah.
Because it starts to give you a much better sense of, actually, there are things in my control. There are things I can still do.
Yeah.
If you just shut out the noise, or do your best shut out the noise of everything else that's going on.
Indeed. Wow, that's profound advice indeed. It's just identify what's in your control and focus on that. In most cases, if somebody is showing up for an interview and they don't believe in themselves, it shows off. It's like a sore thumb. It sticks out, and
Yeah.
I think it's very helpful indeed if somebody can just show up and know that actually this company would be lucky to have me as an employee.
Exactly.
I'm just going to help them get to the next level. I'm the one they're looking for. Wow,
Exactly. Yeah,
amazing.
exactly. Yeah. And also, with that thing in particular, I remember working with someone and I said, when you're going into the job interview, what's in your mind? And they said, I'm going to get it. That's to go into the room.
Yeah,
And, of course, that's going to have an effect on how you show up.
yeah,
One of my phrases, how do you want to show up?
yeah, indeed. That sure has a profound impact on how we are perceived, how we show up. It's amazing indeed. And so when we talk about books, what are some of the books that have inspired you on your journey of self-development?
Yeah. So I think in the last few years, um, I've read a lot of books about coaching because it's my profession. But I think what's behind that is how the mind works, and how the mind can trick us.
Yeah,
Um, I love some of the very famous books like Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. There's a wonderful book by Dr. Steve Peters, which is all about how the works and how we have this inner critic inside us. So I think all of the books that I've read that are kind of just making you self-aware about the self-talk that goes on inside our heads, and just getting conscious of that. They've all been great. Sometimes I think there might be too many self-development books because there seem to be kind of so many coming out. But what I love is when somebody is able to put something very simply. And I think that's the key to any kind of book around self-development or the mind or anything else is can you communicate something quite complex? Can you communicate it very simply? So those are the books that I really enjoy reading, and there's still, of course, another pile of 5 or 6 books over there that I haven't touched yet. Because like everybody else, it's all about time and reading. But I tell you what I've been very bad at, Kenneth, is I actually, for a degree at university, I did English literature. And I read a lot of Jane Austen, a lot of poetry, John Keats, Shelley. These were what filled my days back in when I was studying university, and I still all of that classic literature. But I've been very bad at reading that. I kind of sometimes think I'm a bit too heavy professional book, and I should go back to some of my my first loves around fictional literature.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. It's yeah, nothing beats a good book. It's most definitely. And what you say, I think it takes a great author to take something that is complex and communicate it in a very simple way. And those are the kind of books that also really like just draw me, and I'm engrossed in them. Um, and so if somebody's watching us right now and they would like to speak with you, Kenneth, about the journey that you're on and the things that you're doing, or they feel stuck themselves and they feel, I think I would like to continue this conversation with Kenneth. What's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, I on in social media, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and I love to hear from people through LinkedIn. So if you just search me on LinkedIn as Ken Kelling, Kelling, you should be able to find me there. But I really love just hearing people contacting me directly by email. So my email address is ken@senseofpurpose.co.uk. That's ken@senseofpurpose.co.uk. So I know, drop me a line, even if it's just for a chat, a conversation. I think the world is all about connection. The world is all about sharing. So whatever would be helpful, or whatever has resonated from what I've been talking about today with you, just drop me a line and don't be shy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We will share those links, your LinkedIn profile, and also the email so that people can connect with you. This was very inspiring indeed, Ken. Thank you so much. Before we go, I'd like to ask, is there a question that you would have wished that I asked, but I didn't?
Oh, well, it's funny because I think in the times that we have with lockdown,
Uh,
I think we've been allowed, I think, probably to ask a little bit more about people's uh, sort of home life,
uh,
because with Zoom and with everything else,
uh,
I'm getting a glimpse of your library at the back of you, and I was, before we started, I was asking you about the books,
uh,
and I've found myself, I think, sharing a lot about my home life, because my dog is here nearly all the time. So my dog has barked over more Zoom meetings than I can actually remember. Um, so I would have been very happy for you to ask me pretty much anything, because both as a coach who likes to be open and vulnerable sometimes, and honest,
yeah,
but also just what I think we've learned in the last year or 18 months or so.
indeed.
I think it's okay to connect as human beings, and not just on a professional level, but on a human level as well.
Yeah.
So I would have been happy for you to ask me anything.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much, Kenneth. This was very inspiring. I'm so glad we made time for it. And I'll
Great,
sure be
thank you.
keeping
I
in
really
touch.
enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Perfect, thank you.